Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. This is the question and answer session for February 26th. Public Health Director Annette Rodriguez and Dr. Chris Bird are addressing questions received this week. Please feel free to add your follow-up questions to chat. Hope everyone has remained safe and warm. We have a variety of topics to cover today, so let's get started. Dr. Bird.
Okay, so we're going to talk first about just what's happened this past week and how have things gone with vaccinations. We gotten more vaccine?
Yes, so we actually got last week's vaccine because of the weather. You know, vaccines couldn't move with the severe weather. So we received last week's and this week's together, most of it anyway. So we received 10,000 first doses and we received 6,000 second doses. We still need an additional 4,000 second doses that were actually due today for people that were vaccinated on January the 29th. Today would be the 28 days for them to get their second dose, but those vaccines have not come in. So we've been running clinics all week since we received those on Monday. We've been running clinics on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at Richard Borchard Fairgrounds, and we also ran clinics at Church Unlimited yesterday for teachers that fall into the 1B group. And so we did some there last night until about 8 p.m. And so we've had a really good response still with a lot of people coming in and wanting to get their first doses or their second doses. So we're excited to get as many people vaccinated as quickly as possible. And so we can't wait to see what next week brings us.
Are you seeing any drop off in demand?
No, we really haven't. You know, there was one day which was a little interesting. We invited 5,000 people and just over 3,800 people showed up. But I think some of it could have been that, you know, we notified them very quickly once we received vaccines that we're having a clinic. And the other part that some people were saying was that they were having like repair people come to their homes because of the severe weather. And so maybe they missed their, you know, opportunity to come and get that vaccine. But there's going to be more opportunities. And I know the priority right now is, like Jason said, it's making sure everybody's got water and they've got electricity and that we're staying safe, you know, a safe, warm place to go back to call home.
Yep, that's definitely priority number one. I believe we answered the first question here, so we'll move on to the second question, which is, have you heard any new information about how effective vaccines are against variants?
You know, for variants for Pfizer and Moderna, you know, initially when the clinical trials came out, there wasn't a variant yet, and so they weren't tested against the variant. We know that for Johnson & Johnson, they have tested against some of the variants, and so we see that there's only like a 62% efficacy, I believe, with Johnson & Johnson against like the South Africa variant. And while people think that doesn't sound very good, it actually has an overall efficacy of about 82%. So it's one vaccine, so it really is a very good vaccine to get. And again, we're hoping that, I'm sorry about the camera, trying to get somewhere, but we're hoping that people will take the Johnson & Johnson vaccine when it does arrive.
Yeah, I'll chime in on this one. The effectiveness of Johnson & Johnson against the South African variant is not including things like effectiveness against fatalities and effectiveness against severe disease. And everything that I'm reading thus far indicates that there's still a fair amount of protection against those sorts of worst outcomes. So it's totally worth getting, say, like the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. It even has a large degree of effectiveness against the South African, or the variant from South Africa, especially when it comes to severe illness and fatalities. Israel released statistics from their mass vaccination program, which is one of the most effective in the world from what I read at this point. And they're confirming kind of all the previous tests that have been done with a much larger sample size than previously, where the Pfizer vaccine is extremely effective. And especially when it comes to things like fatalities and severe disease, that's much reduced relative to not having the vaccine, even with variants. So that's the important thing there, is that I think the important take home for the public here is that there's a lot of numbers getting thrown around on efficacy, and realize that they're not all the same measures of efficacy. And so it's hard for even me to keep track of it all at this point. But I think the most important thing is, by getting vaccinated, you're decreasing your chances substantially of either dying or getting a severe case of COVID. Now, you already have a pretty low chance of having like a fatal outcome from COVID. You combine the vaccine on top of that, it becomes a very remote chance. And so, if for no other reason, getting the vaccine to avoid that severe illness or even fatality, they're very effective when it comes to that. I also saw that Moderna has reformulated their vaccine to account for the new variants, but now they have to figure out what kind of safety hurdles they need to go through to get it approved. It's not going to be tomorrow that Moderna has this new formulation available to the public, but they do have a new formulation, and they're working on getting that approved. Okay, so that are all of the questions that we've gotten over the past week. I believe we have addressed them. Tiffany and Jason, did we get any new questions today?
I don't see it.
One just came up. You want to look again, Tiffany?
I'm gonna refresh. Ah, there it is.
All right, it's going to be unfiltered. What's the question?
I received the Moderna shot 1. I received a text and call about taking the second shot. I could not because I take allergy shots and must wait 5 full days before I can take the vaccine. I called and was told by the health department that I would have to re-register for the second shot. I can take a shot this Sunday or later. How can I get on the list to get my second shot?
So for people that need a second shot, you don't register at all. We send something to you, and we tell you when your vaccine gets here from the state. The reason you were told to re-register was because you missed your second vaccine. So these vaccines come specifically for you, like with your name on them. But if you miss it, we have to put it in somebody's arm, because once we draw it up, we only have 6 hours to give it to somebody. So you missed it. So what I would ask you to do is to come to one of our second dose vaccine clinics in the future. If we have any doses remaining, maybe somebody else couldn't make it for that reason. If you come towards the end of that clinic date, if we have vaccines left over, we definitely will get you vaccinated. So.
Okay, any other questions coming in? Okay, so we've been talking about Annette and my struggle to get into shape during COVID, realizing that a year later we kind of let ourselves go, and we've been working on it. So Annette, how have you been faring in the past week?
Well, I'm going to say this past week with all the drive-thrus, I've gotten lots of steps in. But we know that getting steps in isn't the whole picture. You also need to get plenty of rest, which I probably haven't been getting. And you need to eat healthier. And we don't eat healthy because, we're running up and down and every which way. So people are feeding us, and they feed us very well. And so, while getting exercise is helpful, the other thing is you need to be able to do some resistance training as well. But I know that I need to pick up some weights and I need to do some things to be able to shed these pounds. But I'm getting there. I'm taking baby steps right now, but I'm getting motivated to get back into shape.
All right. I'm happy to report that since January 1st, I've lost 10 pounds. I lost a few pounds this past week, mainly, I mean, I haven't been exercising, but I did have to dig a tunnel beneath my house to access a pipe to fix. I spent 3 nights in a row on that, and I'm sore all over, so I'm sure that that had something to do with it. But you're right, the eating healthy. When I went to get my curbside order, like right around when this deep freeze was happening, HEB didn't have any food, and they just brought out random food and asked if I wanted it, and I said sure. And I got like bacon cheddar sausages and things like that. So
yeah. We're not real picky. When you said you were digging that hole, I was thinking about Chapo. I thought he must be really healthy too then.
yeah, so I'm glad you pointed out the eating healthy, because I was very happy about losing the weight, but I haven't been eating healthy, so I know that I'll have to get going on that again once my curbside orders will get fulfilled again. And I haven't tried it yet, but they're probably back online. So that's where we're at. And again, it's important to be in shape. And if you have a BMI of 30 or above, you qualify to get the vaccine because you're at risk. And so we talk about this.
Not a good thing. Which is not a good thing.
Yeah. And, a BMI of 30 or above puts you at risk for a lot of different ailments, as well as COVID. So it's important for everybody to think about that during the pandemic and take some time to work on yourself while, you're quarantining or, social distancing or whatever it is that you're doing to try to prevent the spread of COVID. So I guess with that, we're done for today, and Jason, you can take us home.
Yeah, I should add to your conversation.
Okay.
I've heard it said that you cannot exercise your way out of a bad diet. So.
Well, when you weigh as much as I do, you can do a fair bit of it.
All right. Well, I want to thank everyone for watching, and especially if you submitted a question. In this Q&A, there's no A without the Q, and that's thanks to you. The next task force report will be uploaded this afternoon to social media. Please join us every Friday at noon for the question and answer session. And please remember to direct questions or comments to @CBCovid on social media. Have a wonderful and very safe weekend.